All right, Giants Nation. So I think it's only right that my second Giants fan check would be after the Super Bowl to see how Giants fans are feeling. I know some of us are upset that Saquon Barkley ended up going to the Eagles and winning in year one. Honestly, I made my video on that. I'm not upset. It doesn't affect us as much as you guys want to scream and cry about Joe and how Joe should be fired because of success from the players that went to other teams. It happens, guys. You're gonna have players that leave, whether you like them leaving or not, or the GM is okay with it, or maybe they weren't expecting the players to leave, like in Saquon's situation, which wouldn't really make sense to me. I really do feel like Joe just didn't want him back because he wanted to get rid of Daniel Jones. But that's just my theory. A lot of you guys are just upset with Joe and think he should be fired. So, first fan basically says that every year a Giants player has left the Giants, they have went on to win a Super Bowl. That has nothing to do with us. If I leave my job and I go to a really good job because this really good job just happened to be available and they want me, that has nothing to do with my old job. So all of this doesn't really mean anything. I mean, you have JPP going to the Bucks. So what was that when Tom Brady was there? I mean, why not? I mean, you're upset with the Giants because the players are smart to go to teams that make sense. Same with Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham originally went to the Browns and then ended up with the Rams, ended up winning. They're not in our division. So, that game I was definitely cheering for him. I mean, I'm not cheering from Saquon Barkley because he's an Eagle. Like, a lot of y'all really don't value rivalries. Some of you guys low key should be Eagles fans, but you're scared of the backlash of switching for Saquon Barkley. But some people actually did do that. But yeah, Kadarius Toney, bro, Kadarius Toney was asked. Kadarius Toney went to go play with the best quarterback in the league, and Kadarius Toney ended up being part of the reason why they almost didn't win. So they told Kadarius Toney to stay home. So he won 2 rings practically doing nothing. And Saquon Barkley, after watching the DeAndre Swift tape, I don't even know why he would even no one. I mean, no one, because Josh Jacobs was essentially in the same position. A lot of you guys act like Saquon got disrespected because Joe said, hey, let us know, if you get an offer from whatever team. That's not something that's out of the box. It's not disrespectful at all. Josh Jacobs didn't view it that way. Josh Jacobs actually went back to the Raiders and said, hey, I got an offer from Green Bay, and they told him to go to Green Bay. And more than likely, that's what would have happened with the Giants and Saquon Barkley. John Mara probably wouldn't have liked it, but I don't think he knew that he was going to the Eagles. But I don't think Joe wanted him back because Joe, in my opinion, did not like Daniel Jones. As much as y'all see Joe saying, oh, Dan Jones is the guy, I think he was kind of undermining that connection between Daniel Jones and John Mara. So now you get rid of Barkley, who everybody knew. A lot of the guys that hated Daniel Jones were saying that Saquon Barkley was the one that's saving him. So you get rid of Saquon Barkley. You no longer have Daniel Jones. He still has his job. He's still here. He gets a chance to draft his own quarterback after being here for so many years of being forced to stay with Daniel Jones because of the owner. That's my opinion. Y'all could believe what you want to believe. You can believe that Joe actually liked Daniel Jones, but the actions are showing me otherwise. And then, of course, because the Eagles won the Super Bowl, people are saying fire Joe. My thing is, I don't know what you Giants fans that wanted to keep Saquon Barkley thought would happen if we kept Saquon Barkley. Do you think we're going to go to the Super Bowl if we keep Saquon Barkley? Very unlikely. He's probably more likely to get injured here. So, honestly, I think most people know that we should have traded Saquon Barkley, but you can't trade Saquon Barkley when you have an owner like John Mara who doesn't want to tank and says, oh, he felt like he was giving up on the season if we did trade Saquon Barkley. You trade Saquon Barkley, you end up with JD5 more than likely. You can't win those games that DeVito won. Maybe outside of the Washington game, you probably still win the Washington game because they weren't trying to win. But in the other games, you could have lose those games without Saquon Barkley, and you would have JD5. You don't have JD5 not because of DeVito, but because of John Mara. I'm pretty sure Joe would have traded him if John Mara was okay with it. Part of the negative of trading him is that people would be upset with the Giants. They'd be like, oh, you traded your best player. And so when he walks away, people are still upset with the Giants, but there's still a good amount of people that are upset with Saquon Barkley. Mostly Giants fans. I don't think anybody who's not a Giants fan is upset with Saquon Barkley. They understand the situation. He went to a team where they could use the service and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. But honestly, I'll get to my opinion on that in a second because somebody said something stupid about the whole Saquon Barkley situation. But yeah, if you look at the picture that this guy posted, he says without Saquon Barkley, Eagles don't make the Super Bowl, and this is not true. I don't know why goofy ass Giants fans believe that because y'all have an obsession with Saquon Barkley. Some of y'all wanted to get rid of Daniel Jones, but then you also have an obsession with Saquon Barkley. You can't keep Saquon Barkley and and don't risk a chance of prolonging Daniel Jones's career. So if you don't like Daniel Jones, then you absolutely should have loved the move of getting rid of Saquon Barkley because that was his favorite weapon. So again, I feel like Joe was definitely trying to undermine that connection between John Mara and Daniel Jones. You put him out there, you say he's the guy, you get him a wide receiver, you try to get him an offensive line, then you say, oh, see, I tried, it didn't work out. And see, Daniel Jones is no longer here, and Joe is still here. He won that battle of like different opinions between him and John Mara. I don't think Joe came in taking a job for the Giants thinking that he was going to be stuck with Daniel Jones. He probably was like, hey, maybe this season goes awful and I can get rid of him. But first year we did pretty good, and he ends up getting stuck with Barkley and Daniel Jones. So, but yeah, this idea that they couldn't win without Saquon Barkley is just idiot Giants fans just being upset over the Barkley situation. I've had conversations with Eagles fans, and we talked about how bad Swift was and how, pretty much a lot of the top running backs in the league definitely could have got them to the Super Bowl. Who was in their way? What team would have stopped them, considering that in the run game, they got there with Sanders? What are we saying? I swear, Giants fans are just goofy as hell. Then, of course, the next post is, should he be fired tomorrow, which is a dumb post. They already said they're not going to fire him. So we got a draft coming up. So he has a really good chance of drafting his quarterback and not being stuck with John Mara's quarterback or some other quarterback from free agency. It's really up to him. I mean, if you want to go with Matthew Stafford, who's 37, I mean, 37 kind of old, guys. It feels like A-Rod all over again. I mean, I think the Giants' best bet here is to just draft a quarterback. A lot of y'all are still talking this nonsense about offensive line this and offensive line that. We said the same thing, and then, Bobby Johnson leaves this freaking franchise, goes to Washington, and Jaden Daniels balls out. So stop making the excuses about offensive line and waiting for Arch Manning. He's not getting fired because he's going to have to draft his own quarterback finally. So him and Dable, they finally get their own quarterback. Stop with the Dable slander too. A lot of you guys talking about Dable can't coach. Y'all want him to coach up garbage. Like, no disrespect to Daniel Jones and the other quarterbacks that are on the roster, but they're hot garbage. Saquon Barkley made them look serviceable, but they're hot garbage. And here goes the very last one, and it's about Joe again. It says, could he have a worse year? A lot of the stuff that you guys are pinning on Joe is not really anything that reflects him, except for the people who, you consume a lot of casual media. The media is meant to force feed you a lot of these dumb ideas. So, Saquon Barkley having 2,000 yards behind one of the best, actually the best offensive line in the league has nothing to do with Joe. I mean, Joe doesn't have the best offensive line in the league. We would be lucky on some weeks to finish maybe top 15. But for the longest, the Giants have been towards the bottom of the pile when it comes to an offensive line. So what he does with Philly has nothing to do with the Giants. Same with McKinney. McKinney went to Green Bay. Green Bay obviously did not get to the Super Bowl, but they had a good season. You're not paying Xavier McKinney the money that he got as a Giants, especially if you're rebuilding. It just doesn't make sense. I get it. A lot of y'all are still upset because he paid John Mara's quarterback, but it's the quarterback. People pay quarterbacks that they like all the time. I don't think Joe liked him. I think John Mara liked him. I don't think Brian Dable liked him. I think John Mara liked him. And so they just said, all right, we'll try our best with your quarterback. And it didn't work out. So here we go. You're complaining about Daniel Jones lasted 1.5 years. That's what the contract was designed to do. Like, you saw how the contract was written up. There you had the out. They used the out. So what? Your owner got his quarterback. His quarterback got his chance. They tried with his quarterback. It didn't work out. Can't blame that on Joe. I don't know. But again, you have an owner that likes the quarterback. Like, a lot of y'all just think Joe just had a change of heart. Like, y'all watched the freaking dramatic TV show and was like, oh, well, Joe said he was a guy. He believed in him. Yeah, Joe was undermining that connection between John Mara and Daniel Jones. That's what he was doing, and it worked. He's still here. So take that L, Giants fans. I know a lot of y'all wanted to get Joe fired. I wasn't one of them. I was like, hey, at the end of the day, it's really up to John Mara, and I feel like he feels guilty because he had a hand in some of these bad decisions by Joe. And you can sit there and say Joe's the one running the team, but nah, you have owners that are doing stuff in the background and influencing decisions, because GMs at the end of the day don't want to get fired, you got to go the route that Joe did. The losing record, you're rebuilding. So I don't know what Giants fans are complaining about. What are you guys expecting to be good because of the 2022 season? Like, supposed to be rebuilding, guys. Unfortunately, because of your owner, a lot of y'all don't want to admit, but a lot of this mess is John Mara's mess too. It's not just Joe's mess. You have an owner that likes Daniel Jones. You pay Daniel Jones. A lot of people saying the rebuild got set back because you paid Daniel Jones. Yeah, the owner wanted to pay him. Got paid. You gotta deal with it. You can draft a quarterback this year. You can do some stuff in free agency and then see how it goes. A lot of y'all were saying if we had a good quarterback, then you can turn this team around. But then now y'all don't like the quarterbacks in this draft, and so y'all are all dark and gloomy now. But even I don't know what y'all want Joe to do about the Colts decided not to play. Like, the Colts, I think, were still in the playoff picture and just decided that they weren't going to play that day. And you had guys like Drew Lock and Blake Neighbors. They got numbers that they got to put up, man. So they go out there and play. The Colts didn't show up. I don't know how you're blaming that on Joe, but, Giants fans are just ridiculous. And this is a good example of why Giants fans are ridiculous. A lot of y'all might not see it because you guys groupthink. A lot of y'all think the way that ESPN tells you to think, or whatever Giants content creator or media is telling you to do. As long as they all align, you're like, oh yeah, that's the way to think. Hate Joe Shane. It is what it is, man. Hopefully he picks a quarterback this year and we see where we go this year. But yeah, all of this overreaction from Giants fans is unnecessary. Some of y'all look like y'all want to commit the S word, which is insane to me. But if you think this is the worst part of being a Giants fan, then I don't know. You have the option to switch teams, but you don't have to struggle through it, man.